General Oleksander Stetsenko, former commander, the Deputy Minister of Defense in 1996-2000, and he will provide us with his vision on the catastrophe with the Malaysia Airlines plane that happened on 17th July. Пані і панове, поки що прес-конференція прем'єр-міністра, віце-прем'єр-міністра Володимира Гройсмана затримується в Харкові, і в нас вже зараз є наш спікер, пан Олександр Сtetsenko, генерал-полковник, заступник міністра України, міністра оборони України в 96-2000 роках і командувач сил противійськової оборони Збройних сил України. Прошу вас, пане Олександре.
Good afternoon. Dear representatives of mass media, the events around MH17, many people there are different interpretations of that event, but we have to look at it and we have to say, we have to realize that everybody should understand that Air Force of Ukraine, anti-Air Force of units of Ukraine, in the framework of their responsibility, they are on guard to control the use of airspace of Ukraine. Directly, all the flights are through State Board of Ukraine, all international corridors. There is a concrete time for that, and they are followed. They're watched after in one united system of air control movement in Ukraine. That's why I wanted to say that MH17 crossed the State Board of Ukraine, not over Ratne at 15:04, and then it continued its flight in the corridor defined for it, provided for it. At the time of the tragic event, it was guided. It was observed by Donetsk center of air flights. Of course, we have to give an answer. If the state is responsible for navigation of planes in the framework of over Ukraine, then the state is completely responsible for its security. That's why those accusations against Ukraine, they are one has to be crazy completely to take decisions or to make mistakes. So Ukraine knew and guided. Did separatists know about that flight? Of course not. They didn't have they didn't have information about air flights, and also they didn't have information about that MH17 was supposed to fly over there. No doubt. Events before that, I prove that this struggle against, fight against airplanes of Ukraine, aircrafts of Ukraine, that was done by mobile anti-aircraft Estrela-1 and Estrela-1, and then a new modern system of Russian Federation Verba which can reach up to 6.68 kilometers, and the latitude of is 4.5 kilometers of objects to shoot objects that are higher than I told you. Russian Federation gave to separatists, well, I cannot say it in any different way. They gave them a system, anti-aircraft system, Book M1, which Ukrainian army, Ukraine Air Force, and Air Force doesn't have it in its, and like in Russia they have Book M1. The system, such a system in Ukraine could reach 32 kilometers, and the parameter for 22 kilometers and latitude 22 kilometers. So in such a way, so they could shoot in the radius for 22 kilometers. That's why any smart person in Ukraine and in other countries of the world should understand, could separatist terrorists allow this system, anti-aircraft system, to the radius of 22 kilometers, if they are there? There are no Ukrainian anti-aircraft forces are not present there. That's why, from where did it come from? It could be provided only by Russian Federation. There was an Panzer S1 from Russian Federation, which can reach for 20 kilometers and for latitude of 15 kilometers. That could be used also, but according to our data, that system was not present. Why do I say that it could be used? Because Book system and Panzer and S1, they have such features that one system can do the task without locator and control point, and because it has the system of guidance of autonomous search and autonomous tasks. It should have the crew of 4 people and make an officer and 2 operators and 1 driver and 1 additional corrector, and autonomously. Could you prepare such a crew so quickly? Of course not. A minimal time for training. You have to train them for a month at least. A minimal training of an officer to do such a task autonomously. That's at least half a year. That's why it's clear that that was a trained crew, well-trained crew. If to speak about features, technical features, you have to understand that it searches by a beam 1.7 like a needle. It looks horizontally in the sector and goes line by line, and the same vertically. It does the same vertically to catch the object, especially the object which is small and which has to capture an object on the height of on latitude of 10 kilometers, like it was declared. It's not difficult for such a system. As a result, it's quite possible that they captured, they caught that object. They thought it was a plane of Ukrainian Air Force, because information from Russian communication about the space, they didn't have that information. So that crew acted independently. As a result, they shot They made a strike. You have to understand, if separatists, terrorists, if Russian Federation, which blames Ukraine, they could allow then the commission and to do expertise and to prove that it was I give you 100%, 200% that Ukrainian, as they say, bucket was not, the Ukrainian systems were not used. It could not happen as a result. Without that information, they had to do the task. But it's important that that Bucharest system is quite specific. Such other missiles don't have it. It has 70 kilogram of the part which explodes, and it goes in a cylinder, and fragments of it. It's pointed. It's sharp. It has sharper points. It's like needles, and those fragments in it, about 4,000 fragments, and it's not like a cone, and it's full 35 grams each, those fragments, and they made a strike, and if all the elements of the plan were found, and the investigation commission, they have to fit the plane of those elements, of how it could. They have to put things together and to decide by fragments what kind of a missile was used, and where it hit, and from which side, from left or from right, or from back or from front. Everything could be defined clearly. But at present, we have to say that everything, they cleared out everything they could. Likewise, elements of the missile which could be found and which could be proved that was such and such a missile, we don't have them because they don't allow the commission to work there. Likewise, the commission, neither they have not provided black boxes to the international community, and the terrorists still have them. That's why everybody understands.
Vice Prime Minister Volodymyr Groysman in a press conference.
Now,
Не, бесполезно.
Алло, алло? Алло? Я не чую, алло.
І все будемо робити
Гліб.
забезпечення. На даний момент на території, де знаходиться потяг,
At the territory when we train, there is a group of international experts, and we have representatives from the different expert groups, and
Сейчас нормально было?
For minute of silence, and after that, international team of experts have started to work, and this team includes Ukrainian and representatives of other countries' experts. As for foreign experts, there are about 90 persons, and also about 30 people represent different diplomatic institutions of other countries. And we need to emphasize once again the words of our President Mr. Poroshenko and the statement of State Commission that Ukrainian government understand the need of other countries to bring as soon as possible bodies of dead passengers for identification, and from our side we are ready to do everything that is necessary and everything that is in our power.
окрім спеціальних заходів, які будуть проводитись, для нас дуже важливо, що
it's very important that everything which is taking place here, together with bodies, and for that to meet in international standards, Ukrainian legislation. That's why we prepare everything for those actions to be documented.
Activities that we have organized for us, it's very important that all that activities and Ukrainian law, and that's why we also have started work on documentation of all steps that are made.
коли розпочнуться роботи, відповідні дії,
When the work will begins, we will inform you. We'll try. We will try to work quick, and we'll inform you about that as soon as possible, and then we'll be able to give bodies to their families.
When work starts, we'll inform you of the victory, and for us it's very important to accomplish all activities in time as soon as it's possible, that we could help and assist the transportation of bodies to Netherlands for their identification and to give them their records.
а ви знаєте про те, що позиція президента
The position of the President of Ukraine and Prime Minister of Ukraine, Ukrainian people, was that first of all, to get we wanted to have these bodies collected and taken out from the crash site.
Achievement of the shortest period of time of transportation of bodies from Ukraine.
і зараз президентом України і прем'єр-міністром України вкладається всі зусилля
And now Ukrainian government puts all the efforts to provide the investigation open, transparent, public, to to investigate the reasons of this crash, and for that we needed to also we wanted and that requires some cooperation with our international partners because a lot depends on our joint efforts. For the investigation to receive all the conclusions, and it's very important for many countries for those results of investigation to be public.
Ukraine and Prime Minister, they are interested in objective and a very quick investigation of the air crash and to find out what has happened, what was the cause of this crash. And for us, it's very important to keep a steady position and to work together with our international partners to organize this investigation in the best way, in the most effective way, and then to share its results with the international community.
Я буду координувати роботу всіх служб, які працюють.
I would like to thank all the groups that are working, that are involved, and I would like I confirm, I underline that we will inform you as soon as we have new information.
Is responsible for coordination of all offices and services who work with bodies and with results of air crash, and it emphasizes that as soon as we get new information, we'll find time for the new briefing and try to share this data as soon as we can.
Якщо є ваші запитання, то...
Скажіть, будь ласка, скільки тіл було доставлено, скільки ще залишилося?
How many bodies did you receive? How many bodies are missing? 282 bodies were found. This is the information I have now. Here we received 282 bodies. The rest we will inform you about the rest. This we will inform you about the crash site after we have full access to it.
Train, according to preliminary information, there are 282 bodies and 87 parts of bodies, and we suppose that these are parts of about 16 people. But we have to emphasize once again that this is preliminary information. Exact information we could give you only after starting a work of international experts. Then these methods will be open. And we need to say once again that as for the place, the location where this crash happened, right now we don't have access to that place. So we hope that as soon as we get it, we could buy it properly.
Хочу підкреслити, що для України надзвичайно.
I would like to underline that it's extremely important for Ukraine to find every body of every victim, of every innocent victim.
Every body of every passenger who was in that flight and died.
Телеканал Євроньюз. Скажіть, будь ласка,
Will Ukrainian experts go to the Netherlands? Will they participate in that expertise, in that forensics? And as to the parts of that airplane, is it planned to take also those parts to the Netherlands, or will they be examined here? Our experts will go to with Ukrainian with international experts to the Netherlands.
And experts go to Netherlands to work together with international ones on identification and on investigation.
Саме головне питання сьогодні це
The most important issue for today is to get access to the crash site to do the professional work and everything be done according to the legislation of Ukraine. And under the guidance of authorized agencies.
Once again, that for us it's very a question of huge importance to get access to the location of airplane crash, and as that we could ensure work of all professionals who are responsible for such activities. And as soon as we get this access to that place, then we have two issues to follow. First of all activities should be done according to international and Ukrainian law. And the second thing is that this activity should be coordinated by teams of professionals who are responsible for such work and for such
Є нова інформація, чи безпеки, є інформація, що не кажуть. Що стосується інформації про самописці, так звані
Рекордер.
We don't have information about black boxes. We know that they are in one of the train cars. Professionals from Malaysia, they run consultations on how to get those black boxes for the examination. The Ukrainian government doesn't have information about that, so we're waiting for the results of those negotiations.
For now, we don't have exact data concerning black boxes from that plane. According to preliminary information, black boxes now are in the train with bodies, and currently a team of specialists from Malaysia, Netherlands, and ICAO, they discuss the procedure for work with that black boxes, but we'd like to, we are waiting for propositions how we could continue this work with them.
So should the side be put under control of international forces? If neither side, this country can actually control it, doesn't matter. Protect it, the only way to do that is put international forces.
агентство решения, если Украина правительство не может сохранить место я думаю, що всьому світу очевидно те, що
It's clear. International community should realize to prevent weapons coming back, coming from Russia to militants. That's the issue we have to solve together. We should prevent the aggression and unblock this site.
The whole world already knows that now in Ukraine we have military operation facilities, and we think that the whole world and Ukraine we need to unite all our facilities to stop these military operations and bring peace in Ukraine.
Шановні колеги, у мене питання один до другого. Ваші прогнози, скільки ми ще потрібно нас, коли вони можуть доправити їх до Нідерландів, приймальні максимальні терміни?
Те, що спецпрес прилетів, це правда. Все, що стосується термінів, ми можемо сказати, коли розпочнеться роботу, і вони, саме вони мають нам повідомити скільки часу.
We do everything possible for the investigation to start as soon as possible.
Bringing bodies from Kharkiv to Netherlands is already in Kharkiv, that's right. And as for the period of work of experts, for now we don't know anything. We could provide you some data only when international experts start their work on coordination with bodies, but from our side we are ready to ensure all facilities that they may need for their work.
Ще раз хочу подякувати за вашу увагу, хочу повідомити ще раз. Ми обов'язково по всім питанням будемо вас постійно інформувати, для того, щоб весь світ знав, як ведеться розслідування, що відбувається кожного дня в цьому дуже важливому питанні для всього світу.
Thank you for your attention, and we would remind you that we will keep you informed constantly.
Дякую.
А ви можете дати команду, що пресу в аеропорт пустили?
Шановні колеги, слідкуйте за оновленнями на урядовому порталі та на сайті Харківської обласної державної адміністрації. Якщо хтось не акредитувався в нашому прес-центрі, зробіть це, щоб оперативно дізнаватися про брифінги.
That was the press conference from Kharkiv, the press conference of the Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine, Mr. Groisman, and now we will continue discussing the topic of the crash of the aircraft with Oleksander Stetsenko. So please continue on what you were sharing with us, and we'll proceed with the questions. You see that today the experts who work in Ukraine, they do everything possible to get the information and also to share the information, and Ukraine is helping that. We are helping, and we want the world community to understand what's happening in reality so that they give an evaluation. If we take into account that the passengers aboard the plane were the citizens of different countries of the world, that is the international terrorism with which should be correctly assessed, and correct conclusions ought to be made. If you have questions, I have a question. How important it is to find the fragments of the missile that hit the aircraft, because there isn't such opinion that there's a serious number on this missile. If we find this fragment, we'll know who launched it. If we find the missile, the fragments of the missile, then we will know the series of the missile, and then we will know whose missile that was, whether that was Ukrainian or Russian missile. That's 100%. Talking about fragments of the aircraft, all the fragments are the evidence which will help to find the reason or other parts of the aircraft which are especially important practically in order to find proof, find evidence. We need the fragments of the body where we see where the fragments of the missiles were entering. And also if we find the fragments of the missile, they will also become the evidence. And I'm sure that the passengers were also hit by these fragments of the missile, and that these fragments may help identify what type of missile that was. What's specific about these fragments of the missile? They are very specific. We need to find at least either one fragment or the whole, because there are special type of fragments. They do not enter like a bullet. It's not a regular hole. They pull. They tore the metal on the way. There is a question. According to you, the anti-aircraft defense is monitoring the air above Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast. Is there any opportunity for those people who monitor to fix the moment when the missile was launched? And those, the equipment that monitors the air, there are different types of equipment. There are the stations which detect the target at not big distance, and there are which can do that at large distance. To put something near the Donetsk area is impossible. It is also only possible to put such equipment in Kharkiv, Dnipropetrovsk, Mariupol regions, and they monitor the space at large height. And because these stations are not ready to search such targets, they will not detect it. And in order to detect it, for that, they need to increase the radio location field at small heights. Also in Aeroruch, they were monitoring the air and so on. Besides the aircraft in the space, there were no other aircrafts in the air. As far as I know, the screen of Buka 1, which shows the target, maybe I put it not into professional words, the aircraft An-26 and Boeing, the signal will be of the same size. Is it possible to say that the separatists who downed Boeing, they were not targeting Boeing? They did not know that Boeing was flying there. I can tell you, they did not know, just that they could not know about An-26. But I want to tell you, talking about An-26, it flies at 6.5, 7,000 meters. So someone just invented An-26. That's invented by people who technically are not really trained. So they were just shooting without seeing, without the target being identified. If they did not have information, like in all the command points, there is information about all corridors of flying, where some targets are flying. especially when the passenger aircrafts are crossing the border, because all these aircrafts, they have to inform that they are flying. Without that, they cannot fly. Could you please tell, on the territory of Lugansk and Donetsk regions, there were not a single book equipment fixed. Also, there was a 9S470M1 fixed, which controls all 3 sets of equipment. There is a probability that the whole system was controlled by Russian Federation. 9S-18 at a distance of 160 kilometers. The route of this aircraft was seen. And then the question is, if the launch of the missile, there were 3 missiles, basically 1 missile. If we multiply it by 5 and 5 meters, with a warhead of 70 kilogram, if it's launched from starting just like an autocar is started, then hypothetically, you as a professional, can you say, could there be a short circuit there that could accidentally launch a missile? If you listen to me attentively, I told you, practically this beam, it's not a big beam. If there was no beam, it would not, if there's no beam, it would not go anywhere. It can be launched and get exploded immediately, because there will be no commands given to the missile. There's always this feedback between the missile and the equipment, because it traces the target all the time. It doesn't go directly, it follows the target, because there's always this feedback between the target and the missile. Also, if this is hypothetically impossible, then in this system, there is such a function as coordination and identification, ours or not ours. And this system and the KP9 and so, they are all designed for recognition of the, or finding the target. And in this case, if this set was a complete set of equipment, they could have identified the target. Hypothetically, could have they recognized the target? Hypothetically not. Because the system of request, I am here, and those sets which were autonomous, they were switched off. They were on different territory. Thank you.
Допустити якусь помилку.
It is impossible to commit a mistake. It was higher than 10,000 meters. Thank you. Oleksander Stetsenko, the Deputy Minister of Defense in 2000-2010. Thank you for your professional information.